Well, hi everyone. I hope all is going well. It's trying to be a beautiful day. It really is. Sometimes the sun comes out, other times it's overcast, but it's not raining, and that's all that really matters right now. So, uh, I went to work this morning for a little bit, and I worked both my days off this week. So I went in, I did what I had to get done, and then I left. And my wife and son plan to go to her mom's for a while. I might join them over there in a little while, but some quiet time at home sounds fantastic, so I'm taking some of that. Got one of her high school friends and her family coming over tomorrow, and then I'll be working tomorrow night. But yeah, I don't know about you guys, but holidays just are not my thing. I just don't care about holidays. Um, I'm not one of those guys who likes to go out and have fun. I mean, I guess take that for what it's worth, but I don't like to go out and drink. I don't like to go out and just hang out with people. If I'm not working, I'm a homebody. I always, when I was younger, I always took holidays as the time to get overtime pay. So I never really cared for them. I don't really do anything for any of the holidays, so it's just it's not even a long weekend because I'm working most of it, but whatever. So I was going through, point of this video, I was going through some of the books in my office, trying to get some more stuff logged in the library thing app. And I got to a whole shelf of an author that I enjoy quite a bit. And so I figured I'd hop on and share it with you guys. Before I do that, though, housekeeping. It's the Bones Mini Lumberman. And in it, I have some Ken Byron Ventures Raven Eye Flake. Now, this author I've been a fan of for quite a long time, since I really got back into reading a couple of years ago. I've just fallen in love with his stuff. So I wanted to share some of it with you. He does not really write small books, fair warning. The author that I'm going to talk about today, Neal Stephenson. Neal Stephenson. He is a very smart man from what I can gather. In the early days of Blue Origin, he was what they call a futurist. So they hired him to think about cool things that Blue Origin could be doing. He's no stranger to maths and sciences and all that kind of stuff. Very intelligent man, and also a very good writer. So I just wanted to share my Neal Stephenson collection with you guys. I've got, I think, almost all of his stuff. So I figured I'd just take a couple minutes and share them with you. So here we go. These are not in publication order. They are they're not in an order at all. We have the Diamond Age. So I'll just read you a quick little description of each of these books. Set in 21st century Shanghai, it is the story of what happens when a state-of-the-art interactive device falls into the hands of a street urchin named Neal. Her life and the entire future of humanity is about to be decoded and reprogrammed. I think I read this one. It was one of the earlier ones I read. This is also early in his writing career as well. So that's the Diamond Age. This one he co-wrote, and I believe there's a sequel that was, I think, completely written by the other author. The Rise and Fall of Dodo. I've not read this one yet, actually. So I actually am not 100% sure what this one's about, but when I saw Neal Stephenson's name on it, I picked it up. This one, there's no real quick, brief summary on it, so I'm going to sort of skip over that one, but Rise and Fall of Dodo. Also earlier in his career, Zodiac. Something's rotten in Boston Harbor. The lobsters and lobstermen are throwing off PCB readings high enough to curl anyone's hair. The Red Sox are stumbling through another season of shame. Mysterious speedboats are shadowing the inflatable Zodiac rafts of the local environmental group. And fans of, yes, a rock band with a fondness for pit bulls, have taken over a beached shipwreck from which lethal contamination flows freely into the troubled waters. What this place needs is a guy with a cheap cigar, a fast Zodiac, and a bad attitude. Only Sangamon Taylor, a vigilante who slings a test tube instead of a revolver, can put two and two together in order to make all kinds of trouble. Closing the case of the potentially lethal harbor dumping with the aid of his burnout roommate, his tofu-eating comrades, 3 major networks, and a range of unconventional weaponry, Sangamon Taylor pulls off the most startling caper in Boston history since the Tea Party. As he navigates this ecological thriller with a hard-boiled wit and the biggest outboard motor he can get his hands on, Taylor reveals himself as one of the last white-hatted good guys in a very toxic world. Yeah. Zodiac. All right, so these next 4 books sort of go in a series. One of them, I believe, was the sort of the prequel to the trilogy. And these are sort of a little bit more historical based. We have Cryptonomicon. It's a pretty thick book. And with the extraordinary first volume in what promises to be an epic-making masterpiece, Stephenson hacks the secret history of nations and the private obsessions of men, decrypting with dazzling virtuosity the forces that shaped this century. So it's about a couple of families over a historical period of time, but also involving historic characters like Churchill and Roosevelt, Nazis, yeah, all kinds of stuff. A breathtaking tour de force and Neal Stephenson's most accomplished and affecting work to date, Cryptonomicon is profound and prophetic, hypnotic and hyper-driven, as it leaps forward and back between World War II and the World Wide Web, hinting all the while at a dark day after tomorrow. It is a work of great art through creative daring, the product of a truly iconoclastic imagination working with white-hot intensity. So this is sort of the prequel. And then we have Quicksilver, a big one. The Confusion, a big one. And the System of the World, a big one. Yeah. So these are, again, sort of more of the historical vein. Quicksilver is the story of Daniel Waterhouse, fearless thinker and conflicted Puritan, pursuing knowledge in the company of the greatest minds of Baroque-era Europe. In a chaotic world where reason wars with the bloody ambitions of the mighty, and where catastrophe, natural or otherwise, can alter the political landscape overnight. It's a chronicle of the breathtaking exploits of half-cocked Jack Shafto, London street urchin turned swashbuckling adventure, and legendary king of the vagabonds, risking life and limb for fortune and love while slowly maddening from the pox. And it is the tale of Eliza, rescued by Jack from a Turkish harem to become spy, confidant, and pawn of royals in order to reinvent Europe through a newborn power of finance. A gloriously rich, entertaining, and endless inventive novel that brings a remarkable age in its momentous events to vivid life. So that's the first book. The Confusion. In the year 1689, a cabal of Barbary galley slaves, including one Jack Shafto, a.k.a. King of the Vagabonds, a.k.a. Half-Cock Joe, devises a daring plan to win freedom and fortune. A great adventure ensues in a perilous race for an enormous prize of silver, nay gold, nay legendary gold. In Europe, the exquisite and resourceful Eliza, Countess de Lazur, is stripped of her immense personal fortune by France's most dashing privateer. Penniless and at risk for those who desire either her or her head, or both, she is caught up in a web of international intrigue, even as she desperately seeks to return her most precious possession. Meanwhile, Newton and Leibniz continue to propound their grand theories as their infamous rivalry intensifies. Stubborn alchemy does battle with the natural sciences, dastardly plots are set in motion, and Daniel Waterhouse seeks passage to Massachusetts colony in hopes of escaping the madness into which the world has descended. Newton and Leibniz, that's a famous scientific rivalry. So well researched in a lot of those regards with historical characters in these books. It's kind of cool to how he just sort of intersperses actual history, and creation of the world monetary system is also a big theme in these books as well. The last book, System of the World. England, 1714. London has long been home to a secret war between the brilliant, enigmatic master of the mint and closet alchemist Isaac Newton, and his arch nemesis, the insidious counterfeiter Jack the Coiner. Hostilities are suddenly moved to a new and more volatile level as half-cocked Jack hatches a daring plan aimed at the total corruption of Britain's newborn monetary system. Enter Daniel Waterhouse, aging Puritan and natural philosopher. Daniel has been on a long and harrowing quest to help mend the rift between adversarial geniuses, as Daniel combs city and country for clues to the identity of the blackguard who is attempting to blow up natural philosophers. Political factions jockey for positions while awaiting impending death, and the ailing queen of the Holy Grail of alchemy, the key to life eternal. As Newton, Waterhouse, and Shafto each circle closer to the object of Daniel's quest, everything that was will be changed forever. So this is a very long trilogy. I've read bits and pieces. I don't know, that just kind of actually re-piqued my interest in it. That's a long commitment, though, to get through those 3 books. I was actually thinking about doing a video on why I've sort of given up on reading fantasy and sci-fi. And the biggest reason for that is authors don't know how to close out a series very well. They just keep writing and writing and writing, and there's entire books in these series that I don't want to say are throwaway, but when you're releasing a book every year or two, you tend to forget what happened. And when you're getting to 10, 12 books in some of these series, to go back and reread them all every year or two to refresh your memory on what happened, nope, I'm not doing that anymore. But that's a complete trilogy, so I might add that to my reading list in the next near future. The next one is his newest book, and I have not read this one yet. Polistan. This came out not long ago. But as you can see, volume 1 of the Bomb Light series. It's actually a pretty small book by Neal Stephenson standards. But thankfully it's advertised as volume 1. So I'm going to wait for a while, so I don't have that fantasy issue of having to wait for the next book to come out. I actually don't even really know what this one's about, but I love his writing, so I got it. I have it, and I like to get his books in hardcover. His second most recent book, Termination Shock. This is another environmental thriller, and guess what? Signed first edition. Yep. Yep. That makes me so happy. This one, this one was pretty good. Again, it's an environmental thriller. One man, visionary billionaire, restaurant chain magnate T.R. Schmidt, PhD, has a big idea for reversing global warming. A master plan perhaps best described as elemental. But will it work? And just as important, what are the consequences for the planet and all of humanity should it be applied? Ranging from the Texas heartland to the Dutch royal palace in The Hague, from the snow-capped mountains of the Himalayas to the sun-baked Chihuahuan desert, Termination Shock brings together a disparate group of characters from different cultures and continents who grapple with the real-life repercussions of global warming. Ultimately, it asks the question, might the cure be worse than the disease? The interesting thing with this book is you can tell that he spent a lot of time with very wealthy people who have thought along the lines of, if I throw enough money at this global warming thing, can I fix it? Such as weather manipulation and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, this is a good one if you want to kind of get an idea of what some of the wealthy elite might be thinking. And it's also a really good thriller as well. Here's a picture of Neal Stephenson for you. It's a lot of talks with him, interviews with him and whatnot, online on YouTube, so maybe check some of those out if any of these are piquing your interest in him. Next up we have Seven Eves. Again, these are pretty big books. I guess we're kind of going in reverse order now. So this one has probably one of the best first lines in a book that I think I've ever read. real quick, what is it about? What would happen if the world were coming to an end? A catastrophic event renders the Earth a ticking time bomb. In a feverish race against the inevitable, nations around the globe band together to devise an ambitious plan to ensure the survival of humanity far beyond our atmosphere in outer space. But the complexities and inner unpredictability of the human nature, coupled with unforeseen challenges and dangers, threaten the intrepid pioneers until only a handful of survivors remain. 5,000 years later, their progeny, 7 distinct races, now 3 billion strong, embark on yet another audacious journey into the unknown, to an alien world utterly transformed by cataclysm and time, Earth. So, an event happens, forces people, knowing the world is Earth is pretty much going to end, being hospitable to humans. And how the nations try to continue humanity in space. How to rush that process, knowing that there is a defined amount of time left on Earth. Again, like I said, one of the best first lines. And I watched an interview on this. Let me read you that first line real quick. And then I'll tell you what he said in an interview about it. Chapter 1, The Age of the One Moon. The moon blew up without warning and for no apparent reason. That's the first line of the book. Doing an interview with Neal Stephenson. The interviewer asked him, so that's a pretty interesting first line. Why? And he said, you only have a certain amount of time to catch a reader's attention, especially when you write big books. And you've sort of got to get to the point and you got to hook them in right away and early. And either that line's going to catch your attention and you're going to read to figure out what's happening, or you're going to be like, okay, and then you move on. So I can't argue. It's a fantastic book. Fantastic book. Highly recommend that one. These next two are a series. There's 2 books in it. I don't really know what you call that. And they are also massive, massive books. So first up we have Ream D. Yes, it is Ream D, not Read Me. Yes, that is on purpose. 1972, Richard Forthrast, a black sheep of an Iowa farming clan, fled to the mountains of British Columbia to avoid the draft. A skilled hunting guide, he eventually amasses a fortune by smuggling marijuana across the border between Canada and Idaho. As the years passed, Richard went straight and returned to the States after the U.S. government granted amnesty to draft dodgers. He parlayed his wealth into an empire and developed a remote resort in which he lives. He also created T-Rain, a multi-billion-dollar, massively multiplayer online role-playing game with millions of fans around the world. But T-Rain's success has also made it a target. Hackers have struck gold by unleashing ReamD, a virus that encrypts all the player's electronic files and holds them for ransom. They have unwittingly triggered a deadly war between the boundaries of the game's virtual universe, and Richard is at its ground zero. Racing around the globe from Pacific Northwest to China to the wilds of northern Idaho and points in between, ReamD is a swift-paced thriller that traverses worlds virtual and real. This is a fantastic thriller book. Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And this was written, let's see, what year was this written? Let's see. This was written in 2011. So this is when a lot of those, like World of Warcraft and all those kinds of massively online games were really, really the big deal. So it's sort of playing off of that idea. And then there's the follow-up, Fall or Dodge in Hell. Dodge is the nickname of Richard Forthrast in the other book. It's his nickname. In his youth, Richard founded Corporation 9592, a gaming company that made him a multi-billionaire. Now in his middle years, Dodge appreciates his comfortable, unencumbered life, managing a myriad of businesses, interests, and spending time with his beloved niece, Zula, and her young daughter, Sophia. Read Ream D and you'll learn all about that. One beautiful autumn day, while he undergoes a routine medical procedure, something goes irrevocably wrong. Dodge is pronounced brain dead and put on life support, leaving his stunned family and close friends to difficult decisions. Long ago, when a much younger Dodge drew up his will, he stipulated that his body be given to Cryonics Company, now owned by enigmatic tech entrepreneur Elmo Shepard. Legally bound to follow the directive, despite the misgivings, Dodge family has his brain scanned and its data structures uploaded and stored in the cloud until it will eventually be revived. No one knows whether a simulated brain will be the same when it is rebooted or something will be lost, an ineffable spirit that cannot be recreated into computer code. In the coming years, technology allows Dodge's brain to be turned back on. It is an achievement that is nothing less than a disruption of death itself, in the beginning of the new world, an eternal afterlife called Bitworld, in which humans continue to exist as digital souls. But this brave new immortal world is not all utopia it might first seem. Fall or Dodge in Hell is pure, unadulterated fun, sprung from unique genius of Neal Stephenson. Again, tell me the world isn't headed this way. What could go wrong? Read this book and you'll find out. It's a great one. Last 3 books, I promise. We're getting there. We're getting there. Almost there. This one's one of his earlier writings, Anathem. A big honkin' book. You get the trend yet? Fra Erasmus, a young about living in the consent of Sant Edhar, a sanctuary for mathematicians, scientists, and philosophers, protected from the corrupting influences of the outside secular world by an ancient stone, honored traditions, and complex rituals. This book, the academics are sort of like, they're sort of living like the church classes of today, I guess you could say. Over the centuries, cities and governments have risen and fallen beyond the consent's walls. 3 times during history's darkest epochs, violence born of superstitions and ignorance have invaded and devastated the cloistered Mathic community. Yet the avowed have always managed to adapt in the wake of catastrophe, becoming out of necessary even more austere and less dependent on technology and material things. And Erasmus has no fear of the outside world, for the last of the terrible times was long ago. Now, in celebration of a week-long, once-in-a-decade writ, the Fras and Sirs, the dudes and chicks, prepare to venture beyond the consent's gates, at the same time opening them wide to welcome the curious extras in. What could go wrong? Again, it's an interesting flip-flop of sort of the what would happen if all the scientists and mathematicians and all of them essentially went into cloisters to become separate from the world. Interesting theme, good book as well. May not sound super great. It's a lot of almost more fantasy-like concepts to it than some of his other works. Second to last, his first book. This is actually a reprint of it. This is Snow Crash. This is just a weird book. It's still good, though. Hero lives in Los Angeles, where franchises line the freeway as far as the eye can see. The only relief from the sea of logos is within the autonomous city states, where law-abiding citizens don't dare leave their mansions. Hero delivers pizzas to the mansions for a living, defending his pies from marauders when necessary with a matched set of samurai swords. His home, a sure 20 by 30, you store it. He spends most of his time goggled into the metaverse where his avatar is legendary. But in the club known as the Black Sun, Hero's fellow hackers are being felled by a weird new drug called Snow Crash that reduces them to nothing more than a jittering cloud of bad digital karma. Investigating the infocalypse leads Hero all the way back to the beginning of language itself with its roots in an ancient Sumerian priesthood. He'll be joined on his journey by YT, a fearless teenage skateboard courier. Together they must race to stop the shadowy virtual villain hellbent on world domination. Again, strange book, good book. This is not quite what you're going to get from most of his writings, but this is what made his name. And then finally, probably the least exciting, some remarks. Just some essays on various topics. Yeah, just a collection of essays that he wrote for various things. Yeah. So that's it. That is the Neal Stephenson collection. It is massive, and it's a lot of books, but also just a lot of very big books. So that was a long video. I guess it wasn't a couple of minutes. But anyways, that's the Neal Stephenson collection. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.